Welcome back, my name's Angela McCall. If you haven't been here before, please be sweet and hit that subscribe button. So we are on chapter 8 of the Getting Started tutorials that are available on the Solar2D website to basically help people learn how to use this gaming environment. And we're up to chapter 8. Now chapter 8 basically is all about deployment. So this is now you've built your game, you've tested it, you're happy with it. How do you get it from your computer out into the app stores? Well, as far as I'm concerned, I think they kind of dropped the ball a little bit on the deployment chapter because they leave you to figure out a lot of stuff on your own. So I'm actually going to segment this one chapter into a multitude of lots of different parts because some of it will be relevant to you, some of it won't, and I think you can take what you want from it. So this is actually video A or 8A, deployment, but we're going to focus on just the icons because they can be a bit of a headache, and both all the different app stores do something slightly different. So as you can see on the screen here, I've got my chapter 8 tutorial up and running, and we are literally only going to deal with 8 icons in this section. So as you can see here, this is what the icon is that they've given us for the game. They've designed it already, and obviously there's the 3 app stores that they are focusing on. There are others, so that's for you to sort of go and investigate on your own. Myself, I just kind of stick to these 3, and I'm also looking at Steam at the moment as well, but that's another story for another day. But essentially, you obviously have to have your own accounts with these stores, but before you get there, you need to give your app an icon, okay? And as it clearly says here, icon requirements are they change. They've got different size requests, they have different design considerations, and they all have different devices that they have to work on. There are several online services that will create the entire set for you. This is probably the only place in the game process that you might need to get external help if you haven't got the talent, the skills, or the software already to do it. Although you can design them yourself, which is what I do. Remember, these are relatively small in size, so although they're showing this image here above my head, wherever my camera is, at quite a decent size, don't forget, if you're looking at this, it depends on your device as well, and the screen resolution, this, that and the other, but they can be absolutely minute, sort of smaller than your fingernail kind of thing. So you have to kind of think on a micro viewable level, as it were, so not too much detail and big bold shapes that are easy to identify. Now, basically, we're going to talk about the app icon requirements, and then we're going to get their source files in a second. So I'm just going to open this in a new tab. Now, what they basically say here is for iOS, let's start with Apple first of all. They they place all of their icons in a folder called Image X for Xcode Assets, XC for Xcode. Xcode is their equivalent, Apple's equivalent of Visual Studio. And when you get to the point of wanting to deploy your app to an Apple store, you need to compile the app on a MacBook. So it is a little bit frustrating. It does mean that you have to have both a PC and a MacBook, and then configure the MacBook and the Solar2D and all of the software. But let's just pretend all of that bits and pieces are done. How do we get these icons into the app? Well, that's the first bit that we need to just cover in just a second. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to open up let me just get rid of that for a minute. So I'm going to go to my Corona projects. Here is a Minesweeper game that I've recently started to launch, and you can see here that I've got a whole bunch of icons, but I also have my image Xcode assets file here as well. And in here, this is all automatically, like the default paths and all the folder names and file names are all preset, so you don't fiddle with anything. You just basically save an image and overwrite what they give you. So these are all the icons. So the ones that you're seeing here in this table, all of this infrastructure is to do with the Apple Store and deploying icons and providing icons for the Apple Store. And then down here in the main body of the app itself are the ones that are for the Android, or whether that be Amazon or Google Play. So that's basically how the file locations and the file names go. So moving on here to our tutorial, going on to the Android, now this is obviously quite, the chances are you're going to be working with a lot later than this anyway, but if not, just double check your version numbers. But essentially, as I just showed you, these are the icons and a list there for all the design requirements. And if you wanted to, you could go over to the store here, this website that they give you a link to, and it provides a lot more information about creating icons and that kind of thing. So they do give you quite a lot of information to our deployment. So what we want to do now is grab the source files that they've already designed for us. Okay, and I just need to unzip that. There we go. And so what you can see here is that they've actually provided a whole bunch of icons, and if you look at the file names, they're actually very slightly different. Some of them are actually intended for the App Store, for the Apple App Store, and some of them are for the Android stores. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy all of these right now. I'm going to go put them into our project folder. Where is it? Okay, paste. There we go. Now this is where we need to just kind of flick back and forth a little bit between what's in here. So if you look at the names here, we've got app icon 40 and the numbers up to 1024. So we've got icon 40 up to 1024. In fact, they haven't given us a 1024, so we might need to make one. So these actually need to be moved. So I'm going to cut and I'm going to put them in here, and they'll overwrite. Now obviously if you'd have designed these independently, you would just need to do the similar sort of thing. So I'm just going to replace the ones in the folder, and the only one they haven't given us is the 1024 one, which we still need. So I'm going to quickly go and make that. Okay, so here I am on my MacBook Pro. I've already navigated to my Star Explorer. So this, what we're seeing here now, is the file and folders view from Xcode. So Xcode is like Visual Studio, for example. So I've brought in a copy of the game, and we're just going to have a look now. So if you're struggling with getting your app submitted to the App Store, and one of its errors is because it's got an alpha channel in one of your icons, this is how to find it. Now I'm going to just use one of the regular images here just to demonstrate, because obviously they've supplied this as the source code and they've already removed the alpha channel. But a regular image, if you go to right click on it and preview, okay, and then up in the left corner you go to file duplicate. So when you're in the preview mode, go to file duplicate. You're going to get a copy of that. So let me just get rid of the original one. Okay, and then when you go to save this, there we go. It asks us to save it and obviously name it, and you know where we want to put it, the location and things like that. So what you'd need to do, if this was an actual icon, is you'd need to remove it so the name is identical to the way it should be provided, but then you'd have to unclick that alpha channel, okay? And then when you hit save, you would have overcopied over the top, like written over the original file, and then therefore that image now exists without an alpha channel. Now that needs to happen on every single one of the, in here where it says image XC assets. So every single one of these images now has to have no transparency, which it doesn't, which is fine. And if you want to double check before you go through this process, you can go to the file duplicate, go to close it down. It's going to ask you, and as you can see there, now this icon doesn't have an alpha channel, so it would be happily accepted by the Apple Store. So that's just one of the quick checks that you'll need to do on all of your icons when submitting to the Apple Store. Okay, so now we have all of our icons for the Apple Store without transparency and without the alpha channel, and with those two things correctly built into the image. When we saved it, we should be free to be able to upload and deploy to the Apple Store now. So that's really it. I don't really ever have the same challenges with the Google or the Amazon stores. They are a lot more easier, I find. Apple's a bit fickly, shall we say, but that is basically how you prepare all of the icons for your app, where you store them, how you save them, and how you prepare them. And if you haven't been here before, please be sweet and click the bell and the button to stay subscribed to my channel. So we will be looking at other parts of the deployment process on my 8B video coming shortly.